Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Ames or Amos. There is an apostrophe in the name, I believe, so I believe it's properly pronounced Amos. Infrared thermometer. Harbor Freight's been upgrading all their tools. They have all these new brands that they're coming out with, and putting out a bunch of improved quality products. And this is one of those products that we're going to compare to the old version, as well as a fluke, which costs literally 6 times as much retail and only measures half the value. I love fluke products, but this is going to be one of those comparisons where it's going to be kind of quite a disparity between the fluke and the Amos. So this is a totally different infrared thermometer that is significantly upgraded over the old Harbor Freight version, except for a couple of aspects that I'll point out. I've already opened this packaging, got batteries in it, but I wanted to show the packaging first. They actually have a model number, IR12, but of course it also has a Harbor Freight part number 63985. It's ruggedly built, we know it, because they printed it right there on the package. The big difference on this is it's a 12, well, it can be calibrated, which is a big deal. Probably the biggest deal of this thermometer is the fact that it's known as emissivity. I don't know how to explain it very well, but depending on what you're taking the temperature of via non-contact or infrared, it needs to be compensated, and all these others are just basically compensated at 0.95, like what concrete would be. But if you're measuring the temperature, say, of a piece of shiny stainless steel, they're going to display, or can and will display, some pretty inaccurate results, especially on reflective surfaces. This unit doesn't actually include the manual in the box. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I haven't finished fully opening the packaging. But the manual actually has various examples where you move from concrete to, say, food products to various forms of metals like galvanized pipe or aluminum or stainless steel, how you need to adjust the emissivity to get more accurate results. The other thing is this is what's known as a 12-in-1 infrared thermometer. And how that works, and one of the confusion with these types of thermometers is they're just like an eye that's measuring just the raw kind of average infrared output. So if you're really close to something, it's going to be really accurate because it's only measuring a real small area. As you get further back, it's going to take in the whole average of the area. And that's one of the big complaints and misnomers is I've seen people use these. Well, it's not accurate results, and they're standing 4 feet away from it. And the laser beam that's on these is actually just to help with pointing, but has nothing to do with its actual temperature measurement capabilities. Now, older units, such as this previous version centech and even this fluke, are just hardwired at 0.95. And one of the other issues with this fluke is this fluke only goes to 525 degrees. The previous generation centech would go from like -32 all the way up to 968 degrees, and this new version Amos has an even wider range, which is -50 degrees all the way up to 1022 degrees. And now the 8 and 12 to 1, before I forget that, is if this is about 8 inches away from the surface, then the area that's getting its average from would be like a 1-inch diameter circle. And that would be the same with the fluke, and it has to do more with the diameter of the optic sensor in there. The Ames, and if we open this up, has a much smaller hole. It's a little bit more narrow. So this, if it's 1 foot away or 12 inches away, it will measure a 1 square inch area. So people are going to notice it seeming to be a little bit more accurate just because it has a narrower angle of view. So it's going to be a little bit more pinpointed when you're taking temperature measurements, and I'm sure a lot of people will just notice that right off the bat, because the upgrade from 8 to 1 ratio to 12 to 1 ratio is obviously a 50% narrower window. If we do look at the rest of the back of the packaging, it points that out. It actually has it printed on top of the unit right there. One other thing is on Harbor Freight's website, they show it silk screen, the name right here, which obviously it's not on these units. There's some of there's its specifications. Battery's not included. It is a 9-volt unit. And so that will bring me to the point of where I think it's a downgrade. Is not only is it a 9 volt, it's a 9 volt that uses one of those little wire snap-on things, and those always end up giving you trouble over the years because you have the wires, they're always getting kind of tangled up. Although a 9 volt battery will last a fairly long time in this. I really wish it was something more like the Fluke, where they just had permanent terminals if they were going to use a 9 volt battery. And then part of the comparison with this Fluke is this is indeed one of the Chinese made Flukes. And if you search for this model, a Fluke 61, you just type it into Google, you'll get price ranges from $150 to, I saw, up to $190. It's just totally insane versus $25 for this Ames. And these were 20 bucks. That starts getting real difficult to justify a Fluke that costs 6 to 7 times more money, can only measure up to 525 degrees, so only half of the range, and you can't adjust or recalibrate it. So for a Chinese-made Fluke thermometer, there's just no question. You just cannot justify spending 6 or 7 times as much money for a Chinese-made Fluke that only has half the range. It's just ridiculous at that point. Fluke multimeters are just, and that kind of stuff are much better value, but for some reason, this little infrared thermometer is just totally outrageously priced to the point where I don't even understand why they still manufacture it. And so let me just get that out of the way, that I do, even though I do appreciate the Fluke, it is just totally basic, and for $150 and you can't recalibrate its emissivity, it just doesn't make any sense. And that 525 degrees actually can be pretty limiting for you, especially in automotive applications if you're trying to make sure catalytic converters appear to be getting up to good temperatures, as well as a variety of other applications. Let me go ahead and finish opening this package. Maybe they do have the instruction manual and the layers there. I was lying to you. They did include a very thin copy of the manual that was in between the layers of cardboard in the packaging. So here's the manual, and they hopefully will have those little guide in here. There we go. So there's its guide, and it gives you little just estimates for the emissivity. So depending on what you're measuring, you can easily adjust it so you get a more accurate measurement. Now, besides the one battery criticism, the other, besides of not having permanent terminals for the 9 volts, the fact that it's a 9 volt and they're a little bit more expensive, although I understand it's easier to make a piece of electronics work more how you want it to when you have higher voltages, because then you have more leeway versus lower voltages. But the older one, you did use a couple of AAAs, and that was just really nice and convenient. So as far as the big differences here, we have a variety of other adjustments. So on the old unit and the new unit, they both have nice laser pointers. What we can see is this has a blue backlight. Let's actually turn off these lights. So there's our blue backlight. You can see that the blue is pretty bright, but the newer one is a white backlight, and you can tell it's actually a larger display, and it's quite a bit more readable than the old one here. One of the other aspects of the old one is it had the ability here. It shows that it has an icon for the backlight, like there's an option in there, but there is no button for you to turn on and off the backlight. But I did like the fact that it has a battery gauge. The other thing is this only displays a max. There isn't a way to get it to display the minimum. And on the new one, let me turn these lights back on. On the new one, there's a variety of things. One is we have the laser on. What's nice is you can press this button and you can turn off the laser. And I like that a lot because it allows you to conserve some battery and then not worry about a little laser light if you don't need it. The other thing is this is indeed a backlight button, but it didn't seem to work until I read the manual, and you actually have to be taking a measurement, then you can turn on and off the backlight. And even though that seems like a weird way of doing it, it's still nice that you can turn it on and off the backlight to further save power if you're using this in well-lit situations. So it's a much appreciated upgrade. One of the other nice features is that it indeed does do min-max. Once you have taken a measurement, even though this up and down arrow are like one button, it's a little bit funky, there's actually 2 contact pads. So if you actually press down, Oh, I see. That changes. That will change your temperature, excuse me. So if we press down, they'll go to Fahrenheit. We press up, that'll go to Celsius. And then the select button will go between minimum and maximum. So I appreciate that as well. So those are some significant upgrades. Besides the easier to read and larger display, you can actually do the min-max, turn on and off the backlight, turn on and off the laser. And then one thing is, here's your calibration. Whoop. And it's this emissivity, that weird little E symbol. So if you press and hold the select button, the little E symbol will flash, and then you can just adjust it up and down, all the way from 0.01 to full 1.0. Apparently you never go to 1.0 because that would be like a perfect infrared radiator. And then you just press select again, and that's how you adjust the calibration or the emissivity. So I thought that's really genius, and that makes this much more versatile for exactly what you happen to be taking the measurements of the most. So whatever you're doing, whether it's objects that are cooling off after welding or heat treatment or something, you can, find the specific emissivity of that particular material and get a really nice, accurate result. It is a more compact unit. It's just a little bit wider than the old Harbor Freight. It's kind of hard to see here, maybe this way. Not by much, but it's basically just this larger bezel here. It is ever so slightly, I wouldn't say it's shorter, but it's a more upright position versus this one, which is more angled. And it definitely does have a shorter handle, so it's a bit more compact unit. These orange parts on the front, back, and it feels like the trigger is some type of softer plastic, kind of like what these boots for multimeters are made out of, but maybe just a bit firmer. But you can tell that it's not just a hard plastic just from tapping it. It's definitely some kind of softer plastic. Now, another thing I was going to mention, I was going to try to open this up to show, just what the electronics are like inside, but it seems to all be held together by these plastic snaps. And in a situation like this, it's pretty easy to actually break them. So I'm not going to actually disassemble and ruin this unit. So for $25, to tell you the truth, this is actually pretty awesome. This is a really nice infrared non-contact thermometer. And with a nice big display on it and the ability to recalibrate it, makes it almost a no-brainer. It just really offers some nice features of much more expensive units, and even well outperforms some units like this Fluke here, which cost $150 if you just type it into Google, which is just, it's a reason why Harbor Freight sells so many tools like this. And they know it. And I think everybody remembers when they had these on the shelves, they used, at least my Harbor Freight store, it wasn't like a peg with 10 of these. They had like 40 of them on the shelf. And the same thing with this Ames. I should have taken a photo to show you guys, but they have 4 pegs. It's just this huge section with like 40 or 50 of these things, because they are really expecting to sell a lot of them. And for $25 and the additional features, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. It is just a huge upgrade, and is much, it's hard to argue against a unit like this for $25. It offers a lot of features, built-in, drop protection. It's compact. It offers a narrower viewing. It's sharper at greater distances, so more measurement accuracy, or more pinpointing, I should be able to say. You're just not averaging quite as large of an area, although there'd be certain situations which you would want these 8-in-1 ratio ones. They would be pretty rare. This would work out just great. So to tell you the truth, even compared to these old Centechs, which Harbor Freight still has on their site for $20, holy smoke, spending another $5 to get this one for $25 is a huge upgrade. Well worth it. These, I'm sure that as soon as Harbor Freight sells out of the stock of these, it'll probably be just a couple of months. They'll just be gone off the website. At my store, they already pulled all this stock, so I'm sure they shipped it back to the warehouse exclusively to sell online. So as far as in the stores, you won't even be able to find these old ones, and it's pointless because these new Ames or Ames ones really are pretty darn nice. Anyway, that was the end of another tool review and comparison. I really appreciate everybody watching, and please subscribe. Catus Maximus out.